Hello and welcome back, everybody, to round. Well, I think we're on winners bracket 5. So winners bracket finals, or losers bracket finals. My apologies, semifinals. Anyway, yeah, losers semis. We'll get this right eventually. We are gonna have Conf Croat up playing against Sir Rhino, but first we are going to go over how we got to this point in the day. We started with 8 players, and we have now come down to only 4 remaining.
Yeah, so to start the day off, we had Sir Rhino beating Jocked in a very close match. Then after that, we saw Kampf Kroat squeak one out over Unearthly. Then on the winner's side, I Read Minds beat Toth 201 and Loco Pojo beat Bowert Joe. So those two players are in the winner's bracket finals, which we'll see after this. And then back on the loser's side, we saw another really intense Sir Rhino match as Sir Rhino defeated Toth 201 in a real slobber knocker. And then we just saw Kampf Kroat take out Bobert Joe 2-1, leading up to the Kampf Kroat versus Sir Rhino showdown that we're about to see.
Yeah, and this should be a very interesting game, like we were talking about before we cut to that short break. Rhino is going to have his work cut out for him here. He has one of the decks that is very well positioned against Queen. It just depends on what the draws look like. If Rhino doesn't find those Lightning Storms or those Black Sky Harbingers, and Kampf can get off to an incredibly fast start, he can very easily take control of the game and just run Rhino out.
Yeah, the deck that Kampf is playing is a little better against control than typical Queen due to the addition of all those Obliterate and Flame Blasts that can reach up and kill Sir Rhino after he stabilized the board. But Sir Rhino is playing a full set of Black Sky Harbinger, which is the best possible card against burn decks. So we'll see how it goes.
In addition to that, unless I'm mistaken, he's also playing Island's Favor in the main board, which is something he's been a proponent of for a long time. And if he is, that's going to come in a big help here. This will be the first time
He
we've
was
actually.
the only Felon or Felonscar player in the tournament playing multiple Islands Favor, and I don't think it's a coincidence that he's gone so far. That card is very, very good when it's gaining you a Primal Sigil and 5 or 6 health.
Yeah, exactly. It's been very instrumental in Rhino being able to deal with some of these decks that are playing these big burn effects that he otherwise would have to worry about, but haven't been too difficult. In fact, most games I believe that we've been seeing with Rhino end with him on some amount of health, but he's always got that Aegis up over himself. So he's not worried even though he's low. And Conf with an early Grenadin drone here, but not a lot to follow it up. He's got these 2 impending dooms, but those won't be coming down for a little while. And this is kind of what Rhino needs. Like, he needs the storm to be really slow.
Yeah, so he's got the Storm to slow down the game, and then if he can string together a couple more powers here, then he's going to be able to drop back-to-back Black Sky Harbingers. And unless Kampf has back-to-back Flame Blast or Obliterates or Suffocates to answer those, he's going to be in a tough spot against the 3 Lifesteal every turn.
Yeah, and what's interesting right now is that Rhino isn't going to be pressured by these 1/1 tokens. So this Annihilate and the Death Strike aren't going to have to get just like thrown away or wasted. And this is kind of the difference between like the all-in Jito Queen and the Burn Queen. Like there are not nearly as many 1-drops in the Jito Queen deck, and thus you don't really need to be burning out your premium removal on them. So he's going to get to hold this Annihilate and this Death Strike for those 2 impending dooms, and Comp's going to have to come up with some other threats to help him win this game.
Yeah, I think that Serrano probably is going to Lightning Storm here since he has that Annihilate and Death Strike for Comp's follow-ups. And if Comp had another unit that would die to Lightning Storm, which is basically just only his 1-drops, he would have played it already.
Yeah, exactly. Like, there's not too much, and Rhino, knowing the deck list, knows that Conf isn't playing that full suite of 1-drops with the Jito package.
So Kampf awkwardly has just a 3/3 champion here, but
it will be 4/4 on the next turn. Ooh, and he picks up the banner, even better. So now it's a 5/5, and now this is a real threat. Rhino's going to have to commit this Death Strike to it, but there will be an impending Doom down on the board as well. Fortunately, he left that 2 mana up, so this Annihilate can hit this impending Doom, and he can get the Death Strike off on the next turn.
yeah. As I was sort of thinking of there and didn't quite get it out of my mouth, the Felon Bloodcaster, well, it could block it. Serrano is able to just seek power instead because he has a Death Strike to answer it the next turn. And it just happened to work out very well for Serrano, where he's able to use the Annihilate end of turn and then follow with Death Strike. So this is kind of a clean board greeting him and Kampf as Kampf starts his 5th turn.
Yeah, he was able to weave it in there very nicely. The fact that Rhino had the two power up after the seek power to answer the impending doom immediately when I got played and be able to follow up with that death strike was huge for his tempo and helped preserve his life total by quite a bit.
Yeah, so Serrano goes fishing for answers with wisdom. Doesn't find it, but does find a champion of cunning, which will be able to trade with something.
Yeah, Champion of Cunning will be able to trade, but unfortunately, Rhino next turn is going to have to drop this Black Sky Harbinger probably, and it will get answered by a Suffocate in Comp's hand, and Comp's going to be able to push at least 5 more. He's gonna take Rhino down to 7. He's just looking for burn at this point to close it out. Ooh, and we see the Flame Blast picked up. There it is. Like
Yeah, so Flame Blast and a seventh power for Kampf. So Serrano's gonna have to chump block with Black Sky Harbinger next turn.
Yeah, he will have to chump block with it. Rhino is in the desperate position of like he's gonna have to find either a an Aegis, or he's going to need to find a way to remove this impending doom, which he doesn't currently have.
Yeah, he's got a lot of answers in his deck, but Champion of Chaos draw from Kampf gonna be really brutal. Rhino already short on answers, and he just gets flame blasted right here.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that just pushes him over. Rhino feeling like he can't sack the Black Sky Harbinger. Not wrong either. If he sacrifices the Black Sky Harbinger and that Champion of Chaos comes down, it's going to be very hard for him to actually get back into that game in any sense. So we're going to jump into these sideboards. So Rhino going down the first game, not too surprising. Like, that's kind of been the story of Rhino's run thus far in the tournament.
He lost game one. Rhino's got him right where he wants him.
Yeah, exactly. Like going down a game for some reason is like an advantage to Rhino. I'm not sure really how that works out, but he clearly has proven that he is more than capable of gifting his opponents the first game and then coming back strong with a 2-0.
Yeah, and he's got a solid sideboard for this matchup too, like he does every matchup. Like he has some backlashes for the flame blast and obliterates. He has some sabotages if he wants them to pick him off. He's got a Mistveil Drake to get another Aegis for zero for zero cost because it happened just as soon as you draw the card. You don't even have to pay anything for it.
Yeah, exactly. What interesting inclusions do we see here? Comp electing to bring in those Umbran Reapers for a little more push. He has the sabotages in, obviously very solid against the control deck. That's going to be a lot of spells. On Rhino's side, we see him bringing in his copies of sabotage. What do we see here? He's deciding he's still got a few cuts left in the deck to make. The lightning strikes came in. I definitely like that.
Yeah, some more early removal for Argenport Instigator.
Yeah, bring in the backlashes as well. Backlash, a huge card in this matchup. Functions as a second island's favor 90% of the time in this matchup. Going to be able to take care of those flame blasts.
Yeah, basically in game one, Rhino has plenty of ways to clean up the board, but once he cleans up the board, he's just vulnerable to getting obliterated and flame blasted until he's dead. And now he gets to bring in a bunch of sabotages and backlashes so that once he stabilizes the board, he can still interact and trade with Comp's cards.
Yeah, and currently he is deciding we got 3 cuts to make here. I don't feel well. I guess the Champion of Cunnings do come down as 5/5, so they are better than I think. If you can get flying an Aegis on them, obviously they can be very instrumental in blocking in the air against the impending dooms.
Yeah, also just large Aegis units are another way to beat burn decks. Like Obliterate matches up very poorly against the likes of Champion of Cunning or Copper Hull Elite.
Yeah, so we see him make his final 2 cuts there at 75, just still looking around the deck, deciding what he wants. So he did end up taking out 2 lightning strikes and a lightning storm there to make his last 3 cuts. So we see 3 sabotages coming in, the 2 backlashes, and I think his extra copies of Champion of Cunning. But besides that, not too much for Rhino to bring in. Mainly just a package to try and deal with Comp's burn. That's what he seems to be most concerned with. So the burn and then some of the big units.
Yeah, the interesting part from Rhino is that he removed Withering Witch from his deck altogether, which makes sense since all of Comp's units, with the exception of Impending Doom and Champion of Chaos, only have 1 or 2 health already.
Yeah, they are very low to the ground, and it's not you're really not looking for those big board clears when you're playing against this style of queen. Like Burn Queen, unlike Jito Queen, really only needs 1 or 2 units on the board to put you on enough of a clock that they can close out the game with their burn spells.
Yep. So Rhino has a bit of a power heavy hand, but it's got Suffocate into Wisdom, so looks solid. And Conf on the other side has a okay curve. He's going to get to play a Pyro Knight on turn one, but his second turn play looks to be just a Vara's favor, and then his third turn is going to be a 3/3 Champion of Chaos. So not particularly exciting.
Yeah, and I'm curious to see if Rhino will spend his second turn suffocating this Pyro Knight.
I think that he has to. Without any other answers in his hand, he's going to take like 6 damage from it, which is just too much to take from one card.
Yeah, very true. And since he is on the play now that he picked up that Death Strike, he will be able to answer that Champion of Chaos, which has got to be the card he's most worried about in this matchup as far as units go. The Champion of Chaoses are very hard to deal with. They can't die to the Annihilates. They dodge Suffocates very well. Oh,
Yeah, so Kampf actually picks up a couple of power here, so he doesn't need Devara's favor and is able to spend this turn playing a depleted power and sabotaging instead, and gets to yank that Death Strike out of Rhino's hand.
Yeah, and taking that Death Strike was huge. Just what we were talking about. That was kind of Rhino's game plan, essentially. And he does have the Steward of the Past to at least trade with the Champion of Chaos. Once it gets buffed up, though, it is short a Shadow Sigil, so it will still be 4/4 for at least one more turn. So Kampf going to decide that he is going to go ahead and fish that extra Sigil out and get his units down so that he can make a sweet Bandit Queen turn next turn.
Yeah, instead of using Queen to push for 5 damage this turn, he wants to use it to push for 9 or more next turn. But that's going to be stymied by this 5/5 Flying Aegis Champion of Cunning.
It kind of will be. I mean, the Bandit Queen could still come down and push the units, right? Like,
yeah, but only the Champion of Chaos will be able to attack unimpeded.
Isn't the buff? Oh, it is only +1. Yeah, so that is true. That the Champion of Chaos will hold everything except, or Champion of Cunning rather. Sorry, will hold everything except the Champion of Chaos back. So that actually does work out a lot better. And then Rhino has the Black Sky Harbinger off the top to try and clear off some of these units. That might work out very nicely for him.
Yeah, the big thing there is it'll gain him 6 health. So actually, Rhino is now winning the race in the air with a Lifesteal Flyer against Kampf.
Yeah, that is very true. And all Kampf's units getting silenced here. Oh, we see an Umbrn Reaper picked up by him, and that's going to be pretty bad while the Steward's in play, although he does sack the Steward, making his Umbrn Reaper a lot better if he wants to go ahead and get it down.
Yeah, what do you think he wants to trade the Umbrn Reaper with here? The Aegis Champion or the Lifesteal Black Sky Harbinger?
I don't think he's going to get a choice because, yeah, Rhino holding that Varus favor is just going to take it out, and he's going to start pushing. And, wow, Rhino firing off the Sabotage hits the spell, pulls the other Varus favor. Not that it was super important, but it could have pulled off the Aegis. And all of a sudden, Kampf is sitting at 8 health with 8 in the air.
Yeah, Rhino just killed literally every card that Kampf had that turn.
That was something I wanted to point out, is that the Steward of the Past in play to silence all these units made those dark returns so much less useful for Kampf. I mean, it was what we had talked about a few games ago with somebody bringing back Smuggler's Stash on silence unit, where they were bringing back 5/2s and 6/1s.
Yeah, so Sir Rhino's sideboard strategy of bringing in cheaper cards like Sabotage, able to trade 1-for-1 until his opponent ran out of cards, and so now we have 1/1. We're going to game 3 again.
Yeah, and our players are going to take another look at their sideboard since they are both playing for their tournament lives here. The winner of this will be playing the loser of Pojo versus aReNGee, which will be up.
Yeah, I have to imagine that Kampf is just removing those dark returns from his deck now.
Yeah, Dark Return's a curious card. Like, most of the time it's very solid as it nets you another unit back, but when you are playing a deck more like his, that the pure stats on your units aren't necessarily what you're going for, but some of their effects, it is a little harder to justify, definitely when you know Rhino's running 4 Steward. And yeah, we do see Kampf go ahead and pull out his Dark Returns. Rhino, on the other hand, deciding what he wants to trim up. He cut out a lightning storm to add another death strike in. That's pretty reasonable. There aren't nearly as many tokens in this deck or things that lightning storm hits, and without the withering witches, they're not nearly as important. So he's just getting some more unconditional removal for those champions of chaos and the impending doom.
Yeah, so we're ready for the exciting game three, and I'm on the edge of my seat. How about you, Bearjus?
I mean, I'm pulling for him, man. Like I got to pull for Rhino here. All of his games have gone down to game three, so we're following the formula so far. So I have faith that this will be another formulaic game, and that Rhino can hopefully, while it's still being close, edge this one out. But you're right. This is going to be a very tense matchup here. It's definitely going to depend on some of this early game, seeing what comp can get rolling.
Yeah, we'll see. And here they are, game three. It all comes down to this for one of these players. One of them is going to move on to the losers finals, and one of them is going to go home as fourth place finisher.
Yeah, and we see early Kampf with a pretty solid hand. Like he's got the one drops, and unfortunately he's not on the play. So Rhino having to ship his hand does pick up a very interesting hand. He's very light on early interaction and a little light on power, but he's got some very powerful cards if he gets to the end of hand.
Yeah, if he draws a third and fourth power for the Steward of the Past, he's looking okay. But Kampf has a blazing fast start here. He's got the Grand Drone and then into an Oni Ronin and then into a Cabal Countess. So Sir Rhino cannot stumble.
Yeah, picking up the Permafrost is huge. And Rhino here, what an excellent play. Like he doesn't fire it off turn one, where he would have only gotten to choose from Torch. Now he's got the extra information on the cards, and he got to yank that Flame Blast out.
Yeah, so he knows that there's a Torch now, and that his Steward of the Past will probably get removed, but the Steward will still be a 2-for-1. Like it'll kill one of Kampf's units, like his Oni Ronin or Pyro Knight, and the Torch.
Oh man,
Oh, and then he top decks a Lightning Storm. It's not a power, but I think that might be even better here.
yeah, that was the single best draw he could have had that was not a power right there. I think he might have still actually wanted the power there, but yeah, and here we see it. No, don't let this be the end.
Yeah, so super smart play from Kampf there. Also, not playing his Pyro Knight on turn two, even though he had the power, so it didn't get swept up by that Lightning Storm. So Kampf still has like a couple waves worth of units left here.
Oh man, and Rhino picks up a sigil that's locked down. So now Rhino's got to decide which he values more, and he does value the Countess. So he's going to go ahead and lock this down with the Permafrost. So
Yeah, it has to be the Countess. The Pyro Knight takes a full turn to power up, and if he can get a full turn out of Kampf, then Rhino is happy.
Yeah, very true. And he also just doesn't have the power to hit it right away. But Rhino gonna have to find some answers quickly. He can get the Bloodcaster down and the banner into play now, so he'll have the Death Strike next turn for the impending doom. I mean, it's quite possible for him to find a way to pull this game out. And Kampf's going to go ahead and pull the trigger on that 5 damage Flame Blast he just picked up to go ahead and push through an extra 2 damage here.
Yeah, so Serrano has perfect information now. Like he knows that Kampf's last card is Torch. So knowing that playing Steward of the Past will just trade with the 2-1, I think you have to Death Strike the impending doom when Kampf attacks here, and then you're going to go down to just 8.
Yep, he is going to go down to 8 with the Torch in hand, and oh man, this is starting to look scary. I mean, that Suffocate in there could block off the Steward if it gets played this turn, but Rhino hitting a very important power there, going to be able to get a Champion of Cunning down, and
then that will not die to the attack plus Torch because of the Aegis.
Yeah, this is going to matter if we can power up this Pyro Knight, that's the card. Do you see a Bandit Queen come down though?
So notably, Sir Rhino is dead to Obliterate, and after this attack, he's also dead to Torch. So he needs to either start closing the game or draw a Black Sky Harbinger for some health gain very quickly.
Yeah, he does, and he's deciding right now what he's playing around more comfortably. And this is a very hard decision since he knows the Torch is in hand. He knows he's safe either way, but if he doesn't block the Pyro Knight can get out of control next turn. It could ultimate if he draws a power. But if he doesn't block the Bandit Queen, then he knows he's at virtually 1 health, and even in Vera's favor. Yeah, exactly. it looks like that's what he's deciding he has to play around. He has to play around the bar's favor. So Conf going to be able to push that extra 3 right there. And Sir Rhino with a huge pickup right there. He needed.
Yeah, so he can play this Island's favor, be protected from an Obliterator or Flame Blast, and then play Steward. So even if Kampf draws a power, he will be able to block all of the overwhelm damage from this Pyro Knight.
Yeah, very true. Or he's going to have to commit the whole turn suffocating this, in which case he was not able to ultimate. And there we go. Yeah, he gets the power, but he's going to have to suffocate here. And since he plays that, he's not going to be able to swing in. So Rhino will be able to get another Champion of Cunning down. And this should provide, and even better, the Suffocate. Off the top of the
wow.
deck.
So Sir Rhino now has Kampf on a 2-turn clock here.
Yeah, he's going to be pushing him down very quickly. And Kampf is going to need to draw something. And with that Island's favor up, I mean, this is huge. Rhino's going to have to start blocking these 1/1s, but I don't even think he cares. Oh, and a third Champion of Cunning.
So if Rhino attacks here, he's dead to Bandit Queen specifically. But I think you have to attack. You can't just sit back and wait forever. And Kampf only has 2 Bandit Queens left in his deck.
Well, from Rhino's perspective, I feel like you may be able to wait 1 turn here. So if you pass turn to Kampf, you wait to see what he does. You can Death Strike a unit. Then next turn, you can attack with one of the Champion of Cunnings, get your second Champion of Cunning down. Ooh, the Death Strike getting pulled. Yeah, he's going to fire this off.
He doesn't have to fire this off. He has an Aegis.
Oh, very true, though. And him not, I think he forgot about that. So, yeah, he sees that hit his hand. Yeah, and oops is right there. He definitely wanted to hold on to that. But this is kind of what I was talking about. Now he has the option to push in with one of these, put him at 13, drop the third champion. This is a 1-turn clock. Like, this puts Kampf on draw lethal or die.
Yeah, burn or bust. Oh, well, so this Rabbit Shot actually does buy him another draw step because it will kill one of the Champion of Cunnings on the attack here.
Yeah, it actually buys him a couple. Well, okay. Because Rhino made the double block, it does not buy him 2 turns. It would have bought him 2 turns otherwise if only 1 had gotten traded, since he would have still had the Grenadin drone hanging around, and Rhino has to respect that. So
yeah,
Rhino,
all right, it all comes down to this top deck from Kampf.
Yeah, if this is burn, Kampf wins the game. Anything else is not good enough, and Suffocate not going to be good enough. Rhino pulling out yet another nail biter. These games have been so close out of him.
Yeah, so Sir Rhino for the third match in a row, maybe even 4 going into yesterday, pulls out a tight game 3 after losing game 1.
This is incredible. This is why at the start of yesterday and today I said I am backing Rhino all the way on this Felon Control list. This is unbelievable play out of him. Not only is he getting the cards he needs, but he's making these excellent decisions. He's just played the game perfectly up until this.
So Sir Rhino, he won his very first match of this tournament and then lost and was put into the losers bracket, like almost immediately. So the second round, and then he has just continued to perform amazingly. He's won 6 matches in a row in the losers bracket, and 5 of those went to 3 games.
Oh, this has been so crazy. And you know what's even better for Rhino? Now we're getting into all his games from here on are best of 5. Which is even better for his deck because we know his deck plays so much better in the sideboard. We know his sideboard plan is where his deck starts to take over, like a lot of control decks do, and he is going to get he is going to have such an excellent time with these best of 5s, I imagine. Like getting to sideboard after his first game, getting 4 games of his board plan against these decks, and he's been closing out these best of 3s, handing off the first game every time.
Yeah, he really gets to leverage this now. 80% of games are played post sideboard instead of 66%. And just Mr. Clutch, Sir Rhino, I have to imagine that he's sweating in his chair close to having a heart attack after these series today.
Yeah, really. Like this is unbelievable what we are seeing right now. This is just, oof. I can't. I can't even right now. Like every single game, it's like I was joking about it being a close game and then Rhino squeaking it out, but like here it is once again, comes down right to crunch time, and Rhino has the exact answers he needs, the exact plays, and just pulls out yet another amazing victory.
Yeah, so fortunately for us and for Sir Rhino, he gets to take a break for a match now, as our next match is going to be a best of 5. It's all best of 5s from here on out. It's the winners bracket finals between Loco Pojo and I Read Minds, and that's going to be coming